Montezuma Revenge is the sickest, stupidest race there is, period. There's just nothing stupider or sicker that you could do. There's a series of 9 loops, and we'll never, ever be able to complete all 9 loops. Any of those loops I would never do for fun. Each loop is like its own separate race, but you're going to do all of them in one day.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Montezuma, Colorado, nestled at 10,400 feet above sea level and the site of the 1996 Montezuma's Revenge, a 24-hour mountain bike odyssey considered the highest and most extreme in the world, this year celebrating a decade of pain. Imagine if you were to get on your mountain bike and ride for 24 straight hours, accumulate 233 miles, cross the Continental Divide 14 times, and rack up over 34,000 vertical feet, enough to go to the top of Mount Everest and partway down. Well, that's exactly what faces our 19 competitors in the 10th annual Montezuma's Revenge. Our riders and support crews just about set for the start. Just some final equipment checks and last-minute logistics, and a huge blast from a 10-pound stick of dynamite to signal the beginning of the 24 hours of the 10th annual Montezuma's Revenge. Run-up start, very similar to the 24-hour of Le Mans, famous annual car race in the south of France. And as expected, pre-race favorite John Stamstead in the red, white, and blue jersey right to the point. The pack will loop off the road momentarily, then back up Montezuma Main Street. For some, this tightly bunched pack will be the last they see of the eventual winner until they reach this point tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the end of this bizarre 24-hour mountain bike odyssey. A good, clean start. John Stamstead pulls out to the early lead as they make their way onto Montezuma's Main Street. This is the first of at least 7 times that they will cross this same path before heading out onto their next loop. The 1996 Montezuma's Revenge is sponsored by Paul Mitchell, professional hair care products available in fine salons everywhere. And by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. And by AT&T, the official communication source of the Montezuma's Revenge. And Tabasco. What do you put it on? Our first rider is arriving at checkpoint number 1. Each rider must stop, check in, and stay for a minimum of 1 minute before proceeding on to the next leg.
The first loop is 133 miles. It starts out as a mountain bike race. You go over some mining roads, from Montezuma over to Breckenridge. When you get to Breckenridge, you turn your mountain bike into a road bike for another 100 miles or so. This is the kind of ride that most people wouldn't even want to do in their car.
30 miles into the race, and 3-rider group is broken from the rest of the pack. Coming into the town of Breckenridge, former Revenge champion Charlie Hayes from Boulder, Colorado, followed by fellow Boulderite Brian Totoshini and John Stamstead from Cincinnati, Ohio. Why is Montezuma's Revenge considered the most difficult and grueling mountain bike race in the world? This graphic helps explain with a look at loop number 1, 12,727 vertical feet, 133 miles total. From Montezuma over Glacier Mountain to Breckenridge, then over Boreas Pass to the small town of Como, hit Highway 285 for a jaunt over Kenosha Pass to the town of Grant, then over Guanella Pass on dirt roads to Georgetown before getting back onto I-70 and Loveland Pass to Montezuma. That's loop number 1. More riders coming into checkpoint number 1. This is Gary Sweden, already 30 minutes behind the leaders. Any riders not reaching a checkpoint on loop 1 within an hour of the leader is removed or 86th from this race due to health, safety, and logistical concerns. David Pickett-Heaps picking up the pace on the uphill climb out of Breckenridge, up and out of the saddle and riding swiftly before pavement makes way for dirt road and the old railroad bed that served the gold mining camps in the mid to late 1800s. Totoshini, Hayes, and Stamstead still in close pursuit. Back down on the valley floor, Kathy Summers sets the pace in the women's division. Before the race, she pondered the reason as to why many of these riders ride this race.
Experiencing 24 hours and doing the very best that you can and taking your body, your mind, your soul, just beyond anything you've ever imagined, and seeing what happens, seeing where you come out at the end of it.
Here's a guy who's seen the end of this race from the winner's perspective, pulling off the top of Boreas Pass for a quick tire change, 1993 champion and course record holder Charlie Hayes.
The reason I'm riding in Montezuma's Revenge has a lot of history to it. I first saw it advertised in 1990 or 1991. I thought that looks like a really neat event. You know, it was a challenge. I knew it was going to be a challenge for myself. And since then, it's just been a progression of trying to do better and better every year. It's something here that pulls me into it, and I think that might be the case for the other riders, because anything up here says don't do it. And all year long it says don't do it, don't do it. You know how painful it is. But it's something deep inside that really brings me out every year. And I have to redeem myself from 95. 95, I bonked really hard on grays. I completed 2 laps and just felt like I let myself down, let my crew down, and put in a poor performance. I also have a friend who passed away about 4 or 5 months ago while cycling, so this is kind of on behalf of him too, because he was a real strong rider, really pushed himself, and I'd like to be out doing some riding for him since he can't anymore.
The former champion back in the saddle and up and riding after the changeover. Riders 2 and 3, Stamsted and Tadashini, pull in. Unlike traditional mountain bike races where competitors must carry everything but food and water, here in the Revenge, crews are allowed to carry everything from tires and rims and other mechanics, clothing changes to ward off the severe cold at night and the heat during the day. The only binding rule, each rider must finish the race with the same bike frame he or she started with. David Pickett Heaps now in 4th place, accused the tire changeover at the summit, and continues his hot pursuit of our leaders, Hayes, Stamsted, Tadashini. Just a couple miles outside of Como, and there you see our current leader and former champ, Charlie Hayes, still setting a ferocious pace. Still charging from a few miles back, John Stamsted from Cincinnati, Ohio, Brian Tadashini from Boulder. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 1996 Montezuma's Revenge 24-hour mountain bike race. We're at checkpoint Como, and current leader Charlie Hayes again changing over to road tires. Hayes with a 2-minute gap on Brian Tadashini and John Stamsted coming in, but on the changeover, Stamsted gets out first, followed closely by Hayes. Tadashini with a push from a crew member, now 2 minutes back in 3rd place. The next 20 or so miles, not only will the riders battle fatigue and the fading evening sunlight, but also the steady and oft-times dangerous vehicle traffic of this heavily used highway. Back at checkpoint Como, and David Pickett Heaps looks anxious to get back on the road. As we just saw with Stamsted and Hayes, changeovers can make up significant time or cost valuable minutes. Back out on 285, Hayes back out front by a bike length. Significant advantage to Stamsted, who will be able to conserve precious energy by drafting off of Hayes. Still in the chase, 2 minutes back of the leaders, Brian Tadashini. Giving up valuable road time to the trio, David Pickett Heaps, who will hit the highway in 4th place. On the climb up Kenosha Pass, Stamsted and Hayes working in tandem, valuable for each to save energy. Remember, this is a race of stamina, not speed.
Be steady, eat right, or eat consistently. Stay hydrated, because most of this is above 10,000 feet. So the altitude, as well as the environment, the cold through the night and then the heat tomorrow really plays with your body. So staying properly nourished, having a good crew that logistically handles any problems you might have, and keeping mentally focused.
Still focused after nearly 70 miles in the saddle, David Pickett Heaps in 4th place. Brian Tadashini currently in third, slowly but surely closing the gap on the leaders. Stamstead and Hayes working together to push the pace as they approach the summit of Kenosha Pass. 11 of 19 riders hit the first checkpoint in record time. That means this is one of the largest and most elite fields ever assembled for the Revenge, and it could be on its way to a new 24-hour record. And the current leader, nearly everyone's pick, is the man to beat, John Stamstead.
And I know that I have the ability to win most races if I do my absolute best. So that's my goal. My goal when I get to a race is, I mean, more than winning, is do the absolute best race that I can. And if that happens, I mean, win or lose, you really can't argue with the outcome. The other challenge is doing something that just takes every fiber of your ability. And that's both physical, emotional, and intellectual. I mean, a race like Montezuma's takes a lot of preparation. I mean, there's a lot to think about. You've got equipment selection, tire selection, you know, what to eat and drink for all the different loops. There's a lot going on. It's not just hop on your bike and, you know, whoever's strongest wins.
Right now, the strongest seem to be Stamstead and Hayes. Into Grant for checkpoint number 3. The duo working in tandem have covered 85 miles, pushed the pace to a record level, held off close challenges from Tadashini, Heaps, and lengthened the gap on the bulk of the rest of the pursuers by a solid 20 to 30 minutes.
Close.
I'll just leave.
Tadashini's relentless pursuit closes the gap on the lead duo to 2 minutes.
Tadashini 13.
How's it going?
Good.
Would you say you got speed where?
I took too much time in the transition back there, and I just couldn't catch back on. So I'm trying to do that right now.
You're making up slow increments.
Yeah.
You're ready. Ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go for it.
A little over 1 minute back of Tadashini, David Pickett Heaps. 3 minutes now behind our leaders.
As good as you can feel for doing about 80 miles so far.
Any
Chasing
strategy changes over Guanella?
Just try to keep those pedals moshed, you know, keep good rhythm going. That's about it.
Okay. Thanks, man. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Five, 4, 3, 2, go.
From deep in the heart of America, high in the Colorado Rockies on the Pacific side of the Continental Divide, this is the Montezuma's Revenge 96. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 10th annual Montezuma's Revenge, where Brian Tadashini continues the pursuit of our co-leaders. The 24-hour mountain bike odyssey, now nearly 5 hours and 90 miles old. Cincinnati, Ohio's John Stamstead and Charlie Hayes from Boulder, Colorado, working in tandem with unspoken spirit of cooperation. They've been the pace setters the last 40 miles. In fourth place, David Pickett Heaps. Brian Tadashini with an unscheduled pit stop. That'll put him further back of the leaders. But again, this is a race of stamina, not speed. And anything can happen over 24 hours. Mechanicals, physical blow-up, mental breakdown. A full 1/2 hour behind the leaders, Dave Simmons pulls into checkpoint Grant at about dusk. And he's in 5th place. Hayes and Stamstead continue to climb strong as dusk sets. Guanella Pass, the 4th major high-altitude challenge in the past 4.5 hours. Now into checkpoint Grant comes Joey Klein, the '95 Zuma champ. 6 months overseas, but Klein is now back at altitude for only 3 weeks. Way back of the leaders, but in a similar position as last year before taking charge. Cullen Barker, last year's rookie sensation, currently in 7th place, a half hour plus behind our leaders. Both Klein and Barker utilize the time at Grant to regroup. Klein will take on food. Barker will get a quick massage from his support crew. Klein back out on the road, and a quick look back as he heads out for Guanella, the 4th of 5 legs making up Loop 1. 4 hours and 15 minutes into Loop 1 of the 10th annual Montezuma's Revenge. You can see it's after dark on Guanella Pass, and 2 former champions continue to set the pace. John Stamstead from Cincinnati, Ohio, and Charlie Hayes from Boulder, Colorado. As they approach the top, have lengthened the gap between the rest of the riders. They're just about to the top here, and you can see them pull in. They'll do a quick changeover here, and then it's on down to Georgetown. This is the 4th of 6 major passes they'll do in Loop number 1.
The crew for Montezuma's Revenge is key. Without a crew, I tried the first year to go without a crew and found out you just can't be competitive. And there are too many factors that come into play where you need a crew there with spare parts, spare clothing, extra food to be here in town when you come back from each loop, to feed you, to change you if you need that, and to get you going on the next loop. So they're indispensable.
A salute to the hardworking crews of Montezuma's Revenge. And at the top of Guanella Pass, Hayes and Stamstead have regrouped. Now they're ready to roll downhill to Georgetown. Then it's just I-70 and Loveland Pass before loop number 1 is complete.
Coming, Charlie.
It's approaching 9:45 p.m. and the 1995 Montezuma's Revenge 24-hour mountain bike race continues. At checkpoint Georgetown, co-leaders Hayes and Stamstead roll in. Nearly 6 hours and 100 miles already in the saddle. Still out on Guanella Pass, and Brian Tadashini's pursuit of the co-leaders has faltered. The lead now over 8 minutes in building. Hayes and Stamstead, one last tire changeover for the paved roads of Interstate 70. David Pickett-Heaps pushes on in 4th place, now 10 minutes back. Now 6 hours into the race and over 100 miles old. And Hayes and Stamstead appear in good health and good spirits.
I can't talk, I got peanut butter in my mouth. Your ass in here, boy.
John. Okay, hot chocolate. Have hot chocolate, have coffee.
Our co-leaders back out onto the road for the one final gap before the final checkpoint on loop number 1. Already 6 of the 19 riders that began this race at 4 p.m. have succumbed to the grueling challenge and either dropped out or were forced out by falling more than 1 hour behind the leaders. The 1 hour timetable holds true only in the first loop and only for safety and logistical reasons. After the leaders hit Montezuma for the second time, that goes out the window, and it's every rider for themselves in their quest for personal fulfillment, or as some would put it, individual torture. Brian Totoshini rolls in to Georgetown.
About 10, 15 minutes. I'm not a delegating here. Well, I'm watching the time, you know? This is like CPR. Somebody call Brianna.
Up ahead on I-70, Stamstead pushes on. The lead over third and fourth, approaching 15 minutes. Hayes, too, is slowly falling off the pace. David Pickett-Heaps presses on in fourth place. As they reach Loveland Pass, Stamstead now leaving Hayes behind, opening a 2-minute and 20-second gap on second place. Back in fifth, 45 minutes behind Stamstead, last year's champ Joey Klein.
Something to drink, something hot to drink.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Hot chocolate, coffee.
Sounds good.
Moments later, David Simmons rides in.
Okay, number. How you doing? 10. Want a hot chocolate while I'm at it?
Hayes presses on in second place, but is faltering badly. Simmons takes on tires for the paved roads, while 1995 champion Joey Klein physically refuels.
I never had a car, so I just had to ride my bike to work and back to home and everything. And I had friends who were into mountain biking, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Sounds like work. And then I got into it, and now I do a few races, and now I'm liking it even more than skiing.
How you feel, guys?
Good.
Yeah? Good job. Where's your support? You get to do something?
It's a test of your mind and your body. It's one of the biggest tests I think there is out there. It's, you know, we do almost 28,000 vertical feet of climbing, the winners, the guys who are in the top 5, 3, and the descending is the same way. It's just super steep and loose and rocky. It's all really dangerous, and it's just one of the hardest things around.
Trail's gonna come through here, right through there. That neat
Oh, I started designing trails for Keystone Ski Area 3 years ago. The first year I was just hiking around the woods, looking at all the existing old roads and lanes and game trails, and now we've just kind of pieced it all together, and now we've got a whole trail system up here that I think all the locals and people from Denver and everywhere are really starting to like. It's different than Winter Park, Vail, or a lot of the other places.
95 champ Joey Klein giving back to the sport he loves. This now Dave Simmons. Simmons arrived just moments after Klein in checkpoint Georgetown, but appears to be ready to head out on the road. There's a scant few moments before Klein. Klein with a lot of ground to make up on our leader John Stamstead, who continues to push the pace. 12:07 a.m. and the leader John Stamstead finally reaches Montezuma to officially finish loop number 1. Now just 16 hours and 8 more loops remain. The full moon night of the 10th annual 24-hour Montezuma's Revenge mountain bike race, and our leaders after 8 hours of riding. Current leader John Stamstead appears loaded and ready for loop number 2, the most challenging and grueling quest of the race, considered by many to be the toughest and sickest of the 9 scheduled loops.
Do I need to check in or anything?
What makes loop 2 so difficult is it includes 14,270-foot Grays Peak, A total of 3,880 vertical feet in climb, 17 miles, most of them with a mountain bike strapped to the back. And as Stamsted heads out, leader with a commanding 37-minute lead now on Charlie Hayes in second place.
Tell him. What? Say he's gone. He's on. Going out now.
Flashback to 1995 and the dramatic events that led to victory for Joey Klein. The turning point on snow-covered Grays Peak on the right. As with 1996, Charlie Hayes goes out to an early lead on loop number 1. John Stamsted, the ultra bike guru from Cincinnati, Ohio, on his tail. And rookie surprise, Cullen Barker pursuing in third. Eventual champion Joey Klein in fourth place, over an hour off the pace after loop 1. But when Klein pedaled into Montezuma to complete loop number 2, he was in the lead by a half an hour. The turning point, a strategic move the other bikers not able to duplicate.
I never seen anybody go so fast down a mountain before.
Did he pass you, near you? Was he near you when he passed?
Dude, he flew past me.
You should have seen him tumble.
Joey?
Yeah, there's this, it was a short section of snow, you know, between rocks, you know, 10, 20 yards or something. And he, like, you know, takes a couple steps, digs in his heels, and then just loses it and starts sliding for it, tumbles, and, you know, smacks into the rock and catches himself on it. But, you know, if he had slid 5 feet to the right instead of straight at the rock, he would have gone all the way to the bottom. I mean, that's wanting to win pretty darn bad.
I mean, I was sitting up near the top trying to eat some food, and the checkpoint guy was there telling me, oh, you can just stay here. John's so far back, you won, it's over. And then a minute later, we see John Stamsted one switchback away. Oh! Throw the bike on the shoulder, run over the top of the mountain, and the big guy was right behind me, and I knew he could just take it right then. The whole day I thought I'd won, and people were like, oh, you got it. Just relax, it's okay, it's over. And John Stamsted came from behind, and he was right there.
12:22 a.m. on Saturday morning. Brian Tadashini pulls into Montezuma to complete loop number 1. BT picks up a place by passing Charlie Hayes.
All right. Tadashini's 13.
Right here. 13. How you feeling?
Good.
Hayes, once the leader of this race, now appears to be suffering physically and has dropped back to third.
Yep.
BT back on the trail, hoping that Stamsted too may blow up physically and relinquish the lead.
I was trying to go back to all those reasons I'd given myself as to why I wanted to do it this year. And I was trying to think about that and just trying to persevere. You know, it's called Montezuma's Revenge, and that revenge word is in there for just that reason. You know, this course is out to get you, and if you let it, it will, and it happened to me again.
One-time Montezuma's Revenge champion Charlie Hayes from Boulder, Colorado, retires from the quest at 133 miles. David Pickett Heaps from Frisco, Colorado, arriving at 12:50 a.m. A chance to rehydrate.
Well, actually, I gotta get my tires switched.
And a chance to re-equip. David Pickett Heaps now in third place, 43 minutes behind the leader, John Stamsted.
Just don't worry about it. Just knock him out. Hey.
Smack dab in the middle of loop number 2 for Montezuma's Revenge is 14,270-foot Grays Peak. For a normal hiker, around a 4.5-hour climb. For John Stamsted, with a mountain bike strapped to his back, 3.5 hours. An all-time Montezuma's Revenge record, shattering the old mark by nearly an hour. So quick and so unexpected was his climb to the top that our camera couldn't even get there in time to catch Stamsted's summit. And as the sun rises over the Rockies, David Pickett Heaps now in second place, arriving at the Grays Summit an hour and 25 minutes after Stamsted.
Hey,
how's it going?
David Pickett Heaps, relentless in his pursuit of our leader, John Stamsted. "5:29 a.m. back in Montezuma, and Stamsted is recounting his swift assault on one of Colorado's famous 14ers and readying himself for another 12 hours of riding, over an hour and a half ahead of his pursuers. 12 hours, 150 miles, and a night climb over a 14,000-foot peak. John Stamsted, the leader in the 24-hour Montezuma's Revenge. His only disappointment, a derailleur that appears to be malfunctioning.
Is there a mechanic around?
Shit, I don't have any cable. Like, rip some off my bike. I don't need it for a while. Let me do that.
Should Stamsted continue to have problem with the derailleur, this could be the demon that exorcises him from Montezuma's Revenge. The sun rising over the Rockies. Stamsted heads out onto loop number 3. It'll be 13 miles, 2,224 vertical feet in elevation gain through the historic mining district of St. John and over the Continental Divide the 5th and 6th time. Estimated riding time for Stamsted, 1.5 hours. Back on Grays, riders and support crews continue the methodical plod to the top. Arriving in third place, Joey Klein.
All right.
Pretty torturous this time around, Joey, after coming up to altitude?
Yeah. I'm pretty much way off the back. But Grace feels good. It's nice to be hiking. I don't really want to get back on my bike, but...
Klein's seemingly insurmountable task now to reel in Stamsted, who continues to accelerate on loop number 3, nearly 2 hours over last year's champion. As Klein heads off, far below the summit, Grays claims a victim. Brian Totoshini, who arrived at the Montezuma checkpoint in second place, has lost steam after wandering through the darkness. Now overtaking him to move into fourth place, David Simmons. Just below the summit, Totoshini continues to have problems, showing not only signs of fatigue, but perhaps the early warning signs of hypothermia. Volunteers make plans to hold him up top for food, rest, and warmth. Simmons begins his slow walk down to the bottom of Grays. Below the summit, Totoshini continues to have his troubles. In the meantime, Dave Simmons, now on his descent, passing the snowy Cornist area where Klein overtook Stamsted last year. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Cullen Barker, nears the top, nearly 2.5 hours behind leader John Stamsted. A small celebration as Totoshini finally makes the summit, exhausted and spent.
Want to hop in the tent?
6:18 a.m. Barker's odyssey to the top will end nearly 4 hours of climbing. Totoshini loaded into a tent for rest.
It's a good day of fun.
What's the quest now? Have you rededicated the goal?
Sure. Still a few hours left. Anything can happen.
And now it's time for our John Paul Mitchell Make a Difference segment. Today, saluting the Jimmy Huga Toyota Mountain Bike Express, an annual mountain bike competition devoted to raising money for the Jimmy Huga Center in Avon, Colorado. Established in 1984, the Jimmy Huga Center is a nonprofit scientific research rehabilitation center dedicated to improving the lives of people with multiple sclerosis through research and wellness programs. Founder Jimmy Huga was an Olympic bronze medalist skier in 1964, later diagnosed with MS at age 26. Emphasizing exercise, the Huga Center now conducts wellness programs for people with MS all over the country. The programs are primarily funded by the Jimmy Huga Toyota Mountain Bike Express every summer and a Ski Express in the winter. For his continued work in the MS community, John Paul Mitchell Products salutes Jimmy Huga and the Jimmy Huga Center for making a difference. More mountain bike action still to come in the 24-hour Montezuma's Revenge. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Montezuma's Revenge, where the Torturers mountain bike course continues to ravage competitors. Ryan Tadashini descending slowly after an extended stay on Grays due to extreme fatigue and hypothermia. I'm standing just below the summit of Grays Peak, 14,270 feet above sea level, and the second leg of the 1996 Montezuma's Revenge. You see behind me our first female competitor making her way to the top. Already 8 men have been here and are back out on Loop 3, Loop 4, Loop 5. John Stamstead here nearly 5.5 hours ago. Hey girl, how you feel?
Oh, I'm psyched to be up here. It's a beautiful Colorado day. Yeehaw.
When we saw your sweetie come by a couple hours ago, he said you were right behind and you were going to catch him.
I was. I just had a hard time on this last section. I was tired. Actually, like sleepy tired. But I'm going to eat and be on my way. And I see no reason why I can't at least finish the 24 hours.
A record 9 other competitors trying to do the same, including Summer's boyfriend and defending champ Joey Klein. At 7:11 a.m., he arrives back in Montezuma. It also appears Klein is being asked about the whereabouts of David Pickett Heaps. He's not reached the Montezuma checkpoint since summiting Grays. As Summer sets off, there is talk Heaps may have taken an erroneous turn into a wrong valley.
Psyched to get back on my bike.
7:21 a.m. and David Simmons arrives back in Montezuma. He's now in 3rd place, behind John Stamstead, who is finishing up Loop 3, and 10 minutes behind Klein, who is just now beginning Loop number 3. Dave Simmons offering a little encouragement to Klein. The Montezuma's Revenge 96 Classic has lived up to its name. Just ask PR Director Matt Lett.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not for every mountain biker. We don't attract the average mountain bike racer to this event. We don't attract Norba racers and shorter course racers. But you're right, there's a certain extremeness to coming out and challenging a mountain or letting the mountain challenge you.
8:03 a.m. and David Pickett Heaps finally arrives back in Montezuma nearly 3 hours after summiting Grays. His early morning troubles may curtail his bid to continue.
I don't know if I can go up, man. I crashed hard.
Now in 5th place, Cullen Barker, another rider showing distinct signs of fatigue and mental stress. Meanwhile, leader John Stamstead showing no signs of breaking, continuing his machine-like assault on the Revenge course and its record 6 complete loops. 20 hours gone, and here is the current leaderboard. Stamstead just finishing Loop 5, Klein nearing the end of 4, Simmons in the middle of 4, Barker and Todd Murray both about to begin Loop 3. Only 7 of the original field of 19 remain on their mountain bikes. Barker regroups, sees off, apparently putting his physical challenges behind him. Todd Murray also taking advantage. Brian Tadashini and Heaps out And that moves Murray right behind Barker into 5th position on loop number 3. Here's a unique sight. The leaders coming together in Montezuma. Klein coming in from loop number 4. John Stamsted out on loop number 6. Locals rooting on their hometown boy. Joey Klein from right here in the town of Montezuma. They're urged to keep on pedaling. Loop number 6, and Stamsted continues his methodical ride. The challenge on loop 6, again, not an easy one. Another 2,000 plus vertical, over 11 miles of riding, and the 10th crossing of the Continental Divide. Stamsted now off his bike and pushing, first sign that he may be tiring. It's a constant physical and mental battle.
Can I get some of your water? I think
Little chat with his support crew. That'll offer some moral support. It helps to battle the mental fatigue and the monotony of riding.
Then what?
No sign of let up by his pursuer, Joey Klein. After Stamsted pushed Klein the whole way last year, this year it's Klein's turn. The only question, is it too little, too late? The 1996 Montezuma's Revenge is brought to you by Paul Mitchell, professional hair care products, available in fine salons everywhere. By Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. AT&T, official communication source of Montezuma's Revenge. And by Tabasco brand hot pepper sauce. What do you put it on? "21 hours gone in the 24-hour Montezuma's mountain bike race, as 95 champ Joey Klein climbing on loop 6 in pursuit of current leader John Stamsted. Stamsted heading out for loop number 7 and a new world's record. The final challenge for Stamsted, loop 7, 11 miles, 2,585 vertical feet. As for Klein, time is running out for his 2nd straight championship, barring a major mishap for Stamsted. For his girlfriend, Kathy Summers, a new 24-hour world's record.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kathy has just reached the creek. She has broken the world's record for women, formerly held by Heather Bussey.
The totals for Summers: 6 crossings of the Continental Divide, 18,821 vertical feet climbed, and 163 miles. As Joey Klein rides in for the last time, the knowledge he cannot win his 2nd straight championship. Only consolation that he too can shatter the old 24-hour record.
And I know you could do it.
He chooses to continue. For Stamsted, the new champion, the only question remaining is not how long, but how far. If he's able to make Loop 7 midpoint, he'll have crossed the Continental Divide 10 times, ridden 197 miles in 24 hours, and racked up an incredible 28,388 vertical feet. For Cullen Barker, 4 p.m. marks the end of a day of physical and mental anguish. A victory celebration in store for Kathy Summers. For Joey Klein, 2nd place and a sense of accomplishment only he can know.
Well, it's all over with. So now I can just kick back and then enjoy riding 24 hours.
Well, it's so funny how halfway through you ask yourself why in the world you do this and you'll never ever do it again. And then towards the end, you're like, yeah, that was kind of fun. Maybe I'll do that next year.
And finally, a hero's arrival.
The beauty of this race is it's totally unpredictable. Anything can happen. On any of the loops, they're all, have their element of danger.
Congratulations, brother.
Champagne for our new champion. The final scoreboard, John Stamsted, the clear-cut winner, followed by Klein, Simmons, and Barker. Summers, 7th overall and 1st for women. And so a decade of pain comes to a close. The 1996 Montezuma's Revenge is history. The competitors mentally, emotionally, and physically drained in this 24-hour mountain bike odyssey, as are the spectators, the organizers, the support crews, the cameramen, and yes, yours truly. And what an odyssey it was. 2 new world records, 2 new champions. Montezuma's Revenge 1996. For all of us, I'm Rod Elisha. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next year at Montezuma's Revenge.
I wish more people would do it just to see how far they could go. Because usually it's on a full moon night and it's beautiful and you're out there just riding with a bunch of people you don't know. And after a while you form friendships that can never be broken. It's pretty neat. I'd love everybody to go out and just give it a try and see how far they can go. And a little bit beyond, and just because everybody would feel that same Montezuma Revenge feeling of, ah!
This has been another wild ride, courtesy of JSP International Video Productions, in association with TSI.